The following is a Breaks Media podcast.
What's going on? It's your boy CEO Hayes here, owner of the Breaks Media and also host of The Awakened Soul and the Breaks Radio podcast. But unfortunately, we are not here to discuss positive news, unfortunately. Spider-Man is no longer going to be part of the MCU. Yeah, I know. It sucks. So, seemingly, what makes this all worse is that this decision really seems to be brought about by greed on the part of Sony, in my opinion. Now, you may have a difference of opinion in that. So, as the reports came out yesterday, and this is why we kind of waited to release this video, is that it seems like, well, let's go back. So, the reports that have come out so far, it seems like Marvel was getting 5% of the profits of the Spider-Man movies. But they were doing a big portion of the work. Kevin Feige was acting as producer on those movies. It even came out that he more than likely probably helped some with Venom as well. So take that with a grain of salt. Nothing's been 100% confirmed with that. But so Marvel was ready to renegotiate that deal. They wanted a 50-50 split if they were going to be doing most of the work. And Sony just said flat out no. And apparently Sony feels like they can do just as good without the assistance of Marvel. Now, Sony made 5 Spider-Man films without Marvel. And 2 of those, in my opinion, were good. Now, Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2. The Amazing Spider-Man films, I really didn't care for personally myself. The first one was okay. It wasn't great. The second one was just a flat-out disaster, and we all know how Spider-Man 3 was. So the fact that Sony really feels like they can be as successful without Marvel's help, let's just take a look at this. Like, Spider-Man Far From Home made over $1 billion. Now, some of that, yes, was coming off the hills of Endgame, which is the most, had the biggest box office in the history of the world. But so Marvel put that in a great position to win. Now, maybe that was strategy on Marvel's part. Maybe they purposely wanted Far From Home to come out after in game to boost up those profits so that they would have more of something to negotiate with. I'm not gonna completely act like Marvel isn't at fault some here as well. 50-50 split for a character that they don't outrightly own may be seen by some as overzealous. I can understand it personally, but I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here. So with that being said, it's like, so with that being said, um, Marvel, like this version of Tom Holland Spider-Man is so ingrained in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. For me, it's difficult to see how they're going to move forward without the backing of Marvel. Yes, they can make movies. Venom was okay. I enjoyed it for what it was. But as far as any big plans that Sony had, we seen that they were trying to get the Sinister Six done with the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Didn't work out. You keep hearing rumblings about them wanting to do the Sinister Six movie, a Black Cat movie. Like there's a lot of things that a lot of characters in the Spider-Man universe that they can use to try to build out their own universe. But they haven't been successful in doing that before, so I have no personal reason to think that they would be successful now. But this Tom Holland Spider-Man, we know how ingrained Tony Stark is into this Spider-Man story. So how are they going to move forward now? Like he's been basically their version of Uncle Ben. Now Uncle Ben does exist in the Far From Home universe. So maybe they'll lean more onto that now. Maybe that's why they haven't really gone to that well too much, because maybe they, just in case this deal fell through, they always wanted to have a backup plan. I'm not sure. But it really just like he's been gone for 5 years. Are they just going to completely not mention that? They can't mention the snap. Maybe that's why it was called the blip in Spider-Man. Maybe they've really thought this through just in case that this didn't work out, and to have other things that they can call the events. Even like the Spider-Man suit, it's so ingrained in like Tony Stark's technology. No Happy Hogan. So Tom Holland is not going to have Stark's technology to move forward if they go forward with this version of Spider-Man. There have been some speculation that they'll reboot again, but still use Tom Holland. So that's going to be even like this is all just weird. It's sad. because this has been my personal favorite version of Spider-Man. I think that they really got it right with this. This deal with Marvel really seemed, at least from the outside looking in, like it was beneficial to both parties. Yeah, Marvel was only getting 5% of the splits of the Spider-Man films, but they also benefit by being able to use the character in their Avengers films and that Captain America movie. So it's this, the fallout of this. Marvel just acquired the characters from Fox, so they have plenty of characters to use. But especially like when I think about it, Tom Holland's Peter Parker really didn't interact much with the other Avengers. Yes, in Far From Home, we have Maria Hill and Nick Fury there, but he really didn't interact with two, like Doctor Strange and of course in Infinity War. And we know everyone was at the end of Endgame, but he doesn't have deep connections with anyone else really in the Marvel universe other than Happy Hogan. So maybe they can move forward that way, because he hasn't had a lot of interactions with those other characters. And maybe the other characters on the MCU side, like Thor, we know we're getting a lot of new characters with Phase 4 as well, so they don't have a connection to Peter Parker, so it really wouldn't feel like something's missing, I guess, if he doesn't pop up in those movies. It's just really interesting for me. And Kevin Feige, like, we know how much he loves these characters. You would think that they could have come up with some type of deal, even if it wasn't 50-50. Kevin Feige just being added on, like, as a producer on your film seems to carry so much weight and, like, adds validity and, like, a sense of specialness to the movie because of how well he gets these characters. So this whole thing breaking down really, it doesn't feel right. It felt like a perfect deal, at least from the outside looking in. But you guys, we never really know what all goes on behind the scenes of these big studios and everything. So unfortunately, this is what we're left with. Sony has since came out with a press release trying to save face, in my opinion, just saying that things may change. Talked about Kevin Feige and the roles that he's played even in other films in the Spider-Man universe, which is just Venom, as I said before. So this is just a weird time, but we know the MCU is, at least at this point, has a great track record. So I trust that this is going to affect them less than it's going to affect Sony. We've had, you've seen, like, on social media, boycotts of Sony. Even people wanting to boycott the PlayStation 4 Spider-Man game, which is weird. But we'll continue to follow this. You guys can catch me on this channel. Make sure to follow me at CEO Hayes and hit the subscribe button. Peace.